So, guys, before we even go on anything, I know I already signed over the lease and everything, but apparently the lawyers again wanted me to point this out for the fans.
Sons of bitches.
We thought Eddie Murphy's arrest record wasn't over a transvestite. We thought it was over a prostitute.
That is true. That is. I think we actually had that conversation in one of the first episodes.
We've been over this for I don't know how many installments. But guys, we get it. We fucked up. It was a transvestite, not a prostitute.
Dang it, Vinny, I guess I owe you money.
I wonder which one else we got wrong. What, did Hitler not shoot himself in the head because he didn't want to go to court?
Hitler's still alive in Argentina.
Hitler's not dead. I don't know what you're talking about.
Venezuela. I can't remember.
But Venezuela's starting
to look a lot like Nazi Germany right now. Who knows?
Stuck in my past, about to relapse. I keep running back to you.
So anyway, everyone, welcome back to What Grinds Our Gears, the podcast. The only podcast that does the most wackiest shit in the whole fucking world. I apologize to everyone just trying to throw out stuff of trying to make everyone introduce themselves. That was like a small oversight on my part because apparently I'm not supposed to not be here and introduce people. I apologize. I'm going to not do that anymore. So, you all know me. I am your lovely doctor for everything sexual. The only man alive that says that he's mostly lion, partly human. I am V, of course. Joining me, of course, is my amazing partner for all things, my awesome brother-in-law. He's Deadpool on Sundays, Wolverine Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And if he's feeling like being, I guess, second banana, he'll be Nightwing Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. We have, of course, Hubs.
Hola! I am here.
And, of course, we're always rocking with the most bombastic duo that you will ever find on YouTube. They conquered the universe. They have an amazing little monster. It's in the form of a little cat. They've recently enslaved everything. They've used the Baylet from Berserk to summon an entire army from Godhand and then just send an entire undead army of demons to enslave us all. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Shweebs and Phoenix! Now, we would normally also have Valley with us, but she's a little sick today, so...
We hope you feel better.
Anyway, though, today we're dusting off an old topic from the original days of the podcast, where we're going to be beginning, not finishing, of course, but beginning our discussion on the long thing in Marvel of the Spider-Verse.
Dun, dun, dun.
I say we're just starting because it's like a huge fucking web, but of everything involving the Spider-Verse and Marvel, and we do not have time to go over everything today. We just simply do not.
No way.
It's kind of a shocker.
I mean, we can spend the whole cast talking about who Madam Web is.
Madam Web, I will not go into that today. But I will go into the different Spider-Men that we have on the roster. We all know the original the original Spider-Man. He started off life as a nerd, got picked on all of his life, and then by some miracle got radioactive superpowers. But enough about Dr. Bruce Banner. We're talking about Peter Parker.
I see what you did there.
This little fuckboy just went to a school trip, got bit by a radioactive spider, and then afterwards, instead of dying like a normal human being, they were just like, you know what? He's got superpowers. And then everyone in Marvel's just like, Stan Lee, you magnificent bastard, get off the cocaine. You've made another hit with Jack Kirby. Of course I did, as I was nailing Jack Kirby's wife on my desk.
Okay, I have to interject. There was actually an episode of Family Guy where they did the introduction of Peter Parker, and Peter Parker got bit by the spider. He's like, oh my god, I'm going to have so many amazing powers. Instead, the scene cuts to him lying in bed, dying of cancer, because the radioactive spider gave him cancer.
Yep.
Like
what would happen
how
in
it
racing.
really would do. But I'm not going to hate on it because of what it gave birth to, even though I still fucking hate Peter fucking Parker.
That's why they just need to update it to it was a genetically altered spider. Then it would genetically alter.
They did in the Ultimate
Peter Parker's
Universe.
Yeah, in the Ultimate
Anyways.
So Spider-Man was also genetically altered because apparently his parents were doing were actually involved with the creation of the spider, which used his genetics.
That's what they started to
in the
touch
Ultimate
on.
Universe, not in the Earth 616 universe, which
They
is.
started to touch on it with Andrew Garfield's movie, didn't they?
But that's
Yes.
also tied with the Ultimate Universe.
The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's, like I said, tied with the Ultimate Universe, like the whole Green Goblin creation thing and how they handled how Peter Parker was supposed to actually die in the third film to give birth to Miles Morales.
Which is what I wanted to ask you about, V. Hold on. Have you seen the new movie,
Infinity War?
Into the Spider-Verse?
Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, I've seen trailers of it where they're finally giving Miles Morales a movie portrayal instead of like in the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show that was on Disney XD a few years back with Donald Glover voicing the character.
This actually looked... I saw the trailer for it, and, I mean, I was a little disappointed to find out that it was just animation and not part of, like, they don't make it seem like it's part of the MCU at all.
That's because Marvel does not really know how to treat its animated universe the same way DC does, which is the only problem that they have in their marketing department. But go ahead with your question.
I have not seen the movie yet, and I'm pretty sure nobody here has seen the movie yet, because I've only seen trailers, and I don't even know if it's out yet. It probably is, and I'm just a fool. But from what I saw, it really it touches on the Spider-Verse and the many different universes, but it focuses on Miles Morales and Peter Parker's relationship. Specifically in that Peter Parker is mentoring Miles Morales on how to use his powers and how to navigate, well, it seems like how to navigate the Spider-Verse and communicate with other... They even introduced Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a tie-in to the brand new comic book line of All New Marvel. Different way or some stupid shit where they merged multiple universes together to also bring in Spider 2099 into the present day with Spider-Gwen and with Miles Morales and with Silk and with Spider-Woman and with all these fucking Spider-Men to go into this new comic book event going on where it's every Spider-Man involved inside this giant war together to fight some big entity or whatever with Peter Parker being the leader. It's very well dragged out, but I'm sorry, Aaron. You were saying?
I wanted to ask you what your thoughts on that there was finally a movie coming out focusing on Miles Morales.
Honestly, I won't be satisfied. Mostly because it's very short-sighted in the appeal about what people wanted to see about Miles. Like, let me give you like a small little statistic about the Spider-Verse before Miles actually came around. We knew about it thanks to the Clone Saga, which no one wants to talk about. Like, there's literally like people that go to Men in Black suits to be like, erase my memory. Did you see Aliens? No, I read the comic book line of Clone Saga. Say no more. What was I just doing? But
okay, well, I was excited to see the trailer. It looked good.
But
jeez.
The Clone Saga gave us the whole thing of Peter Parker was supposed to be originally a clone of the original Spider-Man of Ben Reilly, along with some other clones, including this weird asshole named Kane, who had very advanced powers of the spider senses, such as toxic touch, meaning that he could make poison happen from similar touch or whatever, have precognition where his spider sense could actually make him see into the future in a much faster rate, hyperized agility where he could actually fly. It was very fucking weird, but it gave weight into what would happen if there was a universe filled with different Spider-Men, thanks to the storyline, which led us into stuff like Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Porker. I'm not joking about that one. There's literally a Spider-Man that's literally a fucking hog.
He's my favorite.
There's the now
Spider-Pig. Does whatever
a
a
Spider-Pig
Spider-Pig
does.
does.
Can he swing on a web? No,
No,
he
he
can't.
can't.
Cause
He's a pig.
Look out! He is
Spider-Pig.
Spider-Pig.
Okay, so let me. Would it help if I told you that Nicolas Cage was the voice of Spider-Man Noir?
It would not. It would work more if it was Spider-Ham. I wanted Nicolas Cage as Spider-fucking-Ham.
Oh,
That would be
I'm sorry.
more hilarious.
Actually, I saw a really beautiful.
Oh no! John Mulaney is Spider-Ham.
Damn it!
Oh no.
Okay, if it makes you feel better, I actually saw this person went in and made a beautiful way to tie Miles Morales into the MCU universe. Starting from the point where Thanos snaps his fingers.
Mm-hmm.
What it does is it shows Miles Morales and his uncle
Played
are
by
talking.
Donald Glover.
Yep. They were talking, and all of a sudden, the uncle stops, and you see him turn to ash. And that's when Miles, just on with the mask, and looks towards the window, and out the window he goes. And that's how he would connect. But the problem is, Peter Parker is the reason that Miles Morales even has his original suit.
It's true.
How are you going to make this young, not even out of high school, Peter Parker be the mentor for Miles Morales the way it's supposed to be? And even more so in the MCU universe, the uncle even states his nephew is very, very young, implying that he's 5, 6, 7 years old.
Well,
So,
ever since Ant-Man and Wasp came out, it's kind of been touching on how Marvel's gonna treat the whole past, present, and time travel thing. So what I think you're actually gonna see is a closer version of a Miles Morales in the future,
right.
as opposed to being introduced now. You know, so for whatever reason, maybe Ant-Man or somebody figures out how to go to the future.
Which, with what's it called? The Fractalverse, when it's really tiny?
Correct.
I don't think it's the
Subatomic universe.
Subatomic universe or fractal.
It actually
whichever
connects to all
terminology.
times at once.
Right.
So technically, it's one of my friends alluded to the fact that they would probably use the subatomic universe to go back in time to before Thanos snapped his fingers in order to correct it.
Right.
I have a completely different theory about that, and we can touch on that later. But it wouldn't be that unusual if they went into the future as well to see Miles Morales, because honestly, part of the subatomic universe is you really can't control where you come out.
It's true.
Well, I think you're right. First of all, I think they first attempt to go back in time. That's what the knee-jerk reaction is, right? When look what Flash did when he did the whole fucking
yeah, because he
destroyed
wanted to save his mom from being shot,
Right.
but then caused fucking Flashpoint to
right.
happen.
That's the knee-jerk reaction. So I think they end up in the past, but I think they realize it doesn't fucking matter what you do in the past, no matter what you know. It's called somehow they always tie it to destiny or fate, right? That's
No, it's not. It's not even that, because it's the same thing as the Time Machine movie. The entire point and the reason why he could not save his wife in the Time Machine movie is because
he
made
went
the
back in the
Time
first
Machine
place.
just for the purpose of going back to save her, which means she has to die for the Time Machine to exist.
It's a
Which
Which
paradox.
is what takes him back in time to try and save her. They go back in time through the subatomic universe to try and stop Thanos, which means they go back in time. The entire point of them going back in time is to stop Thanos. So if they stop Thanos, congratulations, there's no need for them to go back in time.
which
creates
pause
a paradox.
is what makes Back to the Future's time travel different from this time travel. They weren't going back in time to prevent or stop anything. That's why the whole parallel universe and parallel timeline things could come in. They weren't going into the past for any specific reason other than to see it, right?
Exactly. So whatever they did there happened.
Right, so Doc Brown built the machine just because he could. It had no purpose or meaning other than to go back in time and see. Right,
Exactly.
so that's what sets that different from them going back in time to stop something.
Kind of like with A Sound of Thunder, another time travel movie. Sound of Thunder, they go back in time, accidentally step on a butterfly, cause everything to start rapidly changing, because that the butterfly effect essentially is the big
Right.
joke. But the whole point is that time machine was not designed to counteract something in the past. It was just made to prove that they could make it.
Which lends theory to the fact that the Marvel Universe will be going into the future and we'll be seeing other superheroes who are not yet part of the Avengers, like Miles Morales or other. Hell, I've even heard Wolverine's going to be there. I don't know. Now that Marvel Fox thing is kind of almost a done deal. But back to the topic at hand, which is also where you could see the Spider-Verse at that subatomic, to tie it back in at that subatomic level. You could also maybe see the Spider-Verse, because when you're that small, it, like you were saying, it connects all times, right? So all times and all universes, theoretically, right?
Theoretically, yes, but that's where it also gets a little tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there's a theory that Madam Web is actually in the subatomic universe.
I
would buy that.
Yes.
And she draws you in through that, and that's how she also sends you through time, because she's literally sitting at a nexus point, which is the subatomic universe.
So how powerful is Madam Web?
I can actually answer that a little bit, but it's a little bit vague. Like, it's answerable, but it's also vague at the same time.
I've heard she is comparable to the Watcher.
But not as powerful as, say, like a Celestial.
Because she exists technically out of time, right?
Yes and no.
She's not as powerful as Dormammu, who also exists outside of time, but she has the ability to affect time and multiple universes, which means she has a lot of power.
It's just kind of vague with her. She's just that old character that's powerful, but you can't really estimate how powerful without true actions.
Because you can't rely on her, right? I mean, that's why she goes to Spider-Man, many Spider-Men, for help.
If you took her in a straight fight, pretty much every Marvel character could probably beat her easily.
That's what I'm saying.
With the exception of her ability to affect time. She would. It's one of those. She has passive abilities, like for instance the ability to. She exists at all time at once, which means if you come to kill her, a past version of her knows you're coming.
Right.
Which means she can then correct that timeline so it never happens.
But she needs help to do it.
Incredibly powerful. But if she ever were to face somebody on a straight punch for punch level, you'd find her very lacking in power.
Because she's physically an old woman, so...
Exactly. So she's not powerful, but she is powerful.
Even though she has the ability to change the timeline, she herself cannot do it. She actually has to reach out to a Spider-Man in that timeline, according to the comics or whatever, to change that timeline for her.
Aaron, this is why it's kind of iffy with Madam Web, because there's a lot of stuff that we know, but there's stuff that we don't know.
The biggest issue with her, the reason that she cannot change the timeline, is she's been out of time for so long that she should be dead. Mm-hmm. If she comes back into a timeline, the age will hit her. She will die because she's already used up all of her lifespan.
All right.
That's why she's sitting out of the verse.
Enough about Madam Web. Because I want to speak more, but we discussed this before the podcast. I wasn't supposed to do that, by the way. I wasn't supposed to bring up Madam Web. Because we could literally talk for the entire podcast. We'll do that.
Because it's like a whole theory video about how she came into being, what she is. It's so long-winded, but back to where the foundation of the Spider-Verse came into effect after the Clone Saga. You can all go outside. There'll be men in black stationed out there with neuralizers. You can honestly trust me, I'm Agent V. Anyway, moving on. So, because of the Clone Saga giving so many writers so many different imagination boners, a couple of different writers eventually made Madam Web to give birth to what is now known as the Spider-Verse, thanks to all of the things that happened because of either Peter Parker moronically giving up his fucking marriage to save his dying aunt from a goddamn bullet wound that not even the smartest goddamn Marvel characters could even fix with surgery, magic, or some kind of weird plot device, unless it was just like, well, you're married, so I have no idea how to cure this bullet wound inside your dying aunt.
Unless you don't get married.
It's just like, what the flying fuck were you even doing? But because of events like that, the invention of Doctor Strange and his adventures inside different universes, timelines, and other sort of stuff, Madam Web's intervention allowed us to see other universes of Spider-Man. Spider-Noir, Spider-Ham, going to the future with Spider-Man 2099, who had his
One of my
own unique
favorites.
future, one of my favorites as well, and even going into different fray of events that even gave us Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen, Superior Spider-Man, which is just basically Dr. Octopus possessing the body of Peter Parker when he died.
Silk.
Man Spider.
Yes, Man Spider, Anti-Venom technically.
Now, and Agent Venom to that.
Agent Venom as well. It's
And
just like a
Thompson.
whole giant web of different agents of the spider, which originates from... They try to reenact how the spider came into existence, whether it was genetically made, radioactively made, whether it was a spiritual spider that inhabited this scientifically enhanced one, so it's mystical and scientific. It's so fucking annoying how the writers try to just rewrite how this tiny ass spider from the golden age of comics now has this giant back lore because it bit this one idiot that just didn't know how to either A, save his love interest into a believable way without just making it super dark and being like, you can't have a love interest if you're a superhero because this will happen. You're gonna be so fucking moronic you'll break her neck.
But that's where, okay, now, I've let this slide be enough tonight.
He is taking
I don't
off
make
the
fun
glove.
of your Spider-Man. You shouldn't make fun of my Spider-Mans. Just like the doctors. I don't make fun of your doctors. Don't make fun of mine.
I'm just saying.
You don't like Peter Parker, obviously.
I don't.
It is blatantly obvious. But you cannot blame his character for the flaws in the comic verse. A lot of those stories originated with Spider-Man. The whole fact that
Very
Gwen
poorly,
Stacy died.
yes.
Gwen Stacy died. That was the first comic book superhero to lose the main love interest in his life. And she died and stayed dead.
And let me point out how stupid that death actually is if you were to think about it in a what-if scenario.
But remember this, V. It's the first time it's ever happened in a comic book. You
I
can call
don't
it
give a
but
damn. I will
You
point
call
out
it
how
stupid.
stupid that death is.
I
And I
can
will...
call
No, actually, Spider-Man himself points out how stupid the death is multiple times later. He
Later,
himself
yeah.
says how stupid it was that he let her die or caused her death because
Right.
he doesn't.
Whiplash effect.
That's
Yeah,
because they weren't
and
writing.
he knew better.
They weren't writing her death to be
No. I
Introduce
will
the
tell you why they
storyline.
wrote her death. It's
because
the
it was
same...
a first.
No. It's not even a first. I will point out the stupid reason Marvel has this. It's the same reason they wrote out why Peter Parker couldn't be married to Mary Jane for so long. It's because they were afraid the readers wouldn't connect to someone that is a married man with children.
I don't know if I agree with that.
That's the
No,
main
honestly, I
fucking
could see that.
reason. They
I don't know, though.
They literally write out any possibility of him either getting married or actually married with a future of children, because he has a child in a different universe that's now no longer canon of
That's fine.
Spider-Girl.
That's fine, but then you'd have to include Reed Richards and the Invisible Woman as being part of that trope that you're arguing for right now, because they
But-
were married from the start.
But that's where the argument also takes place, because Peter Parker was written to be the everyman, the one everyone's supposed to relate to, right? But apparently you're not supposed to relate to
Well, obviously
getting
not.
married
You hate
and
it.
having kids.
Obviously not.
He
Poking
got you
holes
there.
in-
I've never liked Peter Parker. That is not a secret. I've just pointed out how stupid it is because A, if he stayed married to Gwen Stacy and she didn't die, look how more advanced his spider suit would be if
But
he
they
were to
they
have
weren't
two
even-
scientific minds with him to make more advanced webbing, a better lining of the suit, being able to track down his criminal rogues gallery and put him away faster, and even making more advancements to make him even more successful than Tony goddamn Stark, and being
Well, then you
rivals
don't
with
have a-
T'Challa
have a-
in the market of scientific advancements.
But then you don't have a fucking then you
how
don't have a
about
Spider-Man
this?
comic book.
The stupid actions from the One More Day thing, where if they just written out that if none of the people were around to help Peter get his aunt fixed and actually let her die peacefully so that he and Mary Jane Watson could actually fight for their marriage honestly, instead of the way the bullshit wrote for that goddamn comic book miniseries to make it seem like that marriage was completely flawed to begin with, I wouldn't really have this much of a hate boner for everything to do with Peter Parker, where I'm just like, if I were to read another comic from Marvel, I would literally go up to the headquarters and pretty much burn it all to the ground with everyone inside of it, starting with Joe Quesada.
All right, are you done, V?
To be fair, allow me to hate on Spider-Man just a little bit. I will be a lot less passionate about it. Spider-Man as a character is designed to have a very flawed relationship personality. He cannot connect to others in that sense. He loves them, but he cannot connect to them, which means no matter what relationship he's in, it's flawed from the start. So your little thought on, no offense, your thought on the fact that they wrote it like it was flawed, it is. Spider-Man is the flaw from the beginning. Peter Parker, let me rephrase that. Peter Parker is the flaw in all of his relationships. Period. Mary Jane, perfect for him. Gwen Stacy, perfect for him. He is the flaw.
And they blatantly
always will be.
They blatantly bring that out every single time. I mean, it's obvious how wrong Peter Parker is in these scenarios. I am agreeing with you on that. But that is the whole basis of the comic book. Like, that is
100% agreed. No, that was my hatred on it. That is the fact that they designed him to be that way.
Well,
the fact that he
never
grows out of it.
But you look at that, many characters are created that way. You look at Wolverine, and literally almost everybody he touches or gets close to dies.
But
right?
that's
the way he's written.
That's supposed to be how they wanted the edgy character, not the everyman.
My point is, you're critiquing a comic book as if I were critiquing a soap opera.
I mean, I do that on the regular.
Soap opera.
Let's also point out one other thing. Not every Spider-Man comic is written by the same person.
So
there are a lot of conflicting creative elements that are thrown in there. And you're talking about Peter Parker like he's a single entity. There are easily over 30 Peter Parkers, if not more. In all the what ifs, all the main canon verses, Peter Parker exists in 30 to 40 different forms.
And they all suck ass.
I agree. He's not my favorite Spider-Man either. But he is the starting point. Yes.
Well, see, now you wouldn't have Spider-Man
starting point
unless you had the outcry from from Gwen Stacy's death. Right?
Yes,
so Spider-Man,
the what if alternate reality
could not exist without the stupid death of Gwen Stacy in the Spider-Man comics original run.
Yes, because they never would have stopped it. Well, no, because they honestly never would have stopped and went, okay, so Gwen Stacy died. What if it wasn't Gwen Stacy who died, but Peter Parker, the opposite reality?
Right.
That's where the what if comes in, because you never would have said that if Gwen Stacy never died.
And then on top of that, what else do you get? You get Gwenpool.
Oh my goodness, Gwenpool.
Probably the greatest gift.
Yeah, but that's not Gwen Stacy.
Deadpool.
That's still not Gwen Stacy, though.
But it did lead to the creation of Gwenpool. It did,
exactly.
But we have to make sure to state that is not Gwen Stacy. It is actually somebody from our universe who ends up in the comics, and that's how that works. But
that would only make sense, right? That would only because Deadpool breaks the fourth wall. Wouldn't it only make sense to break someone from reality into a comic book series, which is what makes it great. Yeah. Not only that, but her name is Gwen.
Yeah, that makes it really great.
I mean,
she's funny. Back to the original point. We have beaten the horse of his relationship issues.
So I'm going to move away from my most hated one.
Exactly. Let's
move on to what was supposed to be the original Spider-Man of Ben Reilly. This blonde fucker was supposed to be the original one thanks to the Clone Saga of just being like, Peter Parker's a failed clone thanks to Dr. Jekyll. And Ben Reilly is the original Spider-Man. Frankly, I enjoy Ben Reilly a lot more than Peter because he didn't, or his creative team didn't try to make him just be like, he's the bumbling fuck up just like you, the reader, because you're a walking fuck up. It's like, but I just picked up this comic to get away from my problems. Why are you insulting me?
And bringing me back to them. Why are we going full circle here?
With Ben Reilly, if they actually put more time and effort into making him a more fleshed out character and actually waiting a lot longer to bring back Peter Parker, just now the new champion of the suit and Ben Reilly retiring, that would probably make me a lot happier because there wasn't really that much fleshed out with Ben before he was just shelved off and just made us like this weird whatever storyline from then on out. And I think that also adds into my hatred for Peter in many different ways. But
Well, here's the thing. As far as Ben Reilly is concerned, he is only the original Peter Parker in one multiverse. Peter is still the first in all the others. So I do love Ben Reilly, do not get me wrong. I do love him. But you can't really flesh him out too much, because the only reason he exists right now is because a villain, a supervillain, is currently fusing timelines, so all the Spider-Men are there. Which means all the what-if Spider-Men are now there. So Ben Reilly, who is technically only a what-if original, exists now. So Peter Parker, who is the original, this is the problem, Peter Parker is the cornerstone of all Spider-Men. He is the first, the beginning, and the continuation of all Spider-Men. Which means, even if in one universe he's a failed clone, he is still the original of that suit. And the original of it. So they have to go back to him. No matter how much you try, it will eventually come back to him.
I get my revenge again. Ha!
Pretty much,
before I start spitting out venom, let me just now move on to another one of my favorites of Miguel O'Hara from the 2099 verse.
Ooh, good choice.
Now this one me and B can actually agree on.
We can finally go back to being loving siblings again, Aaron.
I don't have to burn all my Peter Parker comics.
But anyway,
Or
though,
watch Vinny do all his.
but anyway, the inclusion of the future of the Marvelverse to have 2099's version of Spider-Man actually felt very genuine for me, because Miguel O'Hara's storyline was legit compelling. Betrayed by his company and his former fiance to then become a vigilante of justice, to then work towards getting his company back with a new love interest that was from his childhood that didn't die a stupid moronic death, to then finally have his own company stand proud and tall in a non-toxic environment of the future, where he could then become the new definition of what Spider-Man can be with his own set of powers. And his suit was not that bad either.
No, his suit beat freaking Iron Man suit.
I don't know. I really love the Extremis and the way it evolves.
So, okay.
suit-
Do you think they could tie in Spider-Man 2099 in the upcoming MCU?
I mean,
If
it's not impossible.
If they decided to travel to the future, you know, maybe see Miles Morales, maybe see the outcome of Tony Stark and not Ant-Man, the guy Hank Pym isn't actually Ant-Man in the Ant-Man movies. He's just
the big guy.
That's
What's
Scott
his-
Lang now.
Oh,
Right,
no,
right.
no. What was he? He became the Giant. The guy who grew really
Giant
big.
Man.
Yeah.
But
Hank
Hank Pym
Pym
is Ant-Man and Giant Man.
Yes. But he stopped being Ant-Man, let Peter Lang take over, and became this alternate hero.
And then we
Well,
also
in
got to
the
gloss over the
movies-
fact that after Hank Pym, after beating his wife regularly and then his wife died, he then donned the, I think, Hornet or Wasp outfit for a while.
But I'm talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not
Yeah.
comics. Okay. So Hank Pym is not Ant-Man in the movies.
Nope.
No.
Hank Pym is the master freaking... What I was getting at is, like, the MCU could tie in the 2099 Spider-Man, where it's like Tony Stark and Hank Pym finally meeting of the minds, right, after Thanos is finally defeated, or whatever. You get to see a little future snippet in Avengers 4, maybe. Who fucking knows? Maybe not. You see the outcome of Tony Stark's design on Spider-Man's suit from Homecoming, right?
Yeah.
And then we've even seen a little tidbit from the whole new, what is it, Spider-Man Far From Home, where his suit looks more mechanized than before.
Yep. After Tony Stark made the God Slayer armor.
So maybe we'll get to see where the whole 2099 Spider-Man suit comes from. This Hank Pym, Tony Stark, Banner conglomeration of a suit.
I mean, the original suit was a Dias de los Muertos costume.
But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
well, Miguel O'Hara, didn't he steal the...
He stole the formula to become Spider-Man, but he made the costume from an old Dias de los Muertos costume because, you know, Mexican superhero, yo. And, because every Mexican celebrates Dias de los Muertos. Am I right? Audience out there that's not just...
And Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, and Cinco de Mayo, see, every Hispanic person celebrates Cinco de Mayo y Dias de los Muertos. Every one of us do.
What I'm getting at, I think, is the MCU has no qualms about changing their storyline when it comes to which I totally agree with in a cinematic universe. You want to follow the comics, maybe not like to a T, right? Because there's always something in the comics that could be changed to make it better or, you know, worse or whatever.
Hence why I like Homecoming's Peter Parker more than any other Peter Parker I've ever met.
But you have to stick to the main, like, overall plot line, right? No, go ahead, Phoenix. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Phoenix.
My thing is this. What I like to see is not necessarily an exact physical representation of what's in the comic, because I already read the comic. I like the comic. I know I like that storyline. Give me something that touch on the main plot points. For instance, Peter Parker got bit by the spider. Boom, big plot point. How his webbing becomes made, truthfully, don't care. Whether it's natural, comes out of his, out of his wrist, or he made it. I love the fact that he made it because that was really close to the comics, but it really didn't make a huge difference on my splasher meter.
Which, to add to the point, they really touched on kind of deeply in the comic books. He went through the whole process of how he makes his web cartoons.
Oh yeah, made it a huge deal. And
right, which you can do in the comic. You can't really do that in a movie.
Well, actually, Homecoming, they did a good job with it because in the middle of science class, he creates it and is like hiding it in the desk. Like, nobody sees that. Nobody sees that. But my point is, keep to the bigger points. The little shit can kind of fly under the radar. And every once in a while, throw in a really nice throwback to the comic, like introducing Uncle Miles Morales in Homecoming. That was amazing because I got the reference. Nobody else I went with had it. But I'm like, that, yes, I love that. That right there, a nerdgasm right there.
That just foreshadows Miles Morales showing up in the MCU, wouldn't you think?
Exactly. Well, maybe not in this particular run, but maybe during the reboot, they may have an older Spider-Man, which is still going to be Todd Hiddleston. No, Todd Hiddleston. Todd Hiddleston's actually on.
You mean Tom Holland?
Holland, that's the one. Hiddleston is Loki.
Yes.
Yeah.
Loki's running around chaining the new Spider-Man. That would be funny.
That would be amazing.
That would be hilarious.
But as Tom Holland, my apologies, is now one of my favorite Spider-Men. I do believe that he has a contract for 4 or 5 more movies, which means beyond the actual reboot, he is still going to be Spider-Man. But he's going to be older then, so he could probably pull off an older Spider-Man, which make Miles Morales' introduction a lot easier.
So to touch on that quickly,
yes.
The Sony Marvel deal that, spawned Spider-Man Homecoming. I know we've mentioned this earlier podcasts, but apparently Marvel got nothing.
Yep,
right.
They literally got the shaft.
So they gave Sony everything. They basically said, hey, Sony, let us write this movie for you, put our name on it. You can have all the profits, you can have all the stuff, but here's the deal. You give us 4 movies. So every time a Spider-Man movie is made by Marvel now, Sony is actually making money.
Yeah.
That is why Sony did it. Because Sony's like, well, we have nothing to lose. If you do big, we get all that money and you get nothing. And if we do shitty, you get nothing and we still get the money that you did make. So
yeah, and we didn't have to spend a dime hiring crew, getting cast together. Nothing. We spent nothing to make this movie.
That just shows you how, I want to say arrogant, full of themselves Marvel is, that, hey, Sony, this is how bad we think you're doing it wrong.
But it also, on the opposite scale, shows how dedicated to their own character Marvel is.
Correct.
Yeah, Sony did, no offense. I like the original Spider-Man. I like Spider-Man 2. to a degree, not really much as the first one. Spider-Man 3 was an abomination, which one shall not be.
Except for the scene where he goes all fucking loopy and is like dancing in the streets and like being a freaking.
We'll talk about that only because of how bad that scene is.
But it's hilarious.
That scene without music. And
yes, I have. That is why he's just snapping.
Exactly, but that's because it's so bad that you have to laugh at it. That's how bad.
But I love Raimi. I love his director's style. Like when Spider-Man gets hit in all three of the original trilogies, it looks like he's getting beat the fuck.
Oh yeah,
you know? I love Raimi's filming style.
Like I said, that's why I like the first two, and I do think honestly the original actor for Spider-Man did a beautiful Peter Parker.
Yes, he fucking
absolutely
did.
beautiful.
Tobey
Peter
Maguire.
That guy, yeah, him.
Because he's just naturally awkward. You know.
Meanwhile, in the remake, The Amazing Spider-Man, I think the actor there did a not so good Peter Parker because honestly, he wasn't awkward or geeky in almost any way.
He was,
but he did get the trash talk.
He was a beautiful Spider-Man. He was perfect for Under the Mask.
Yes.
100%. Yes. Love that Spider-Man. Tom Holland, I believe, embodies a nice mix of he is nerdy and the biggest loser in school and shows it, but when the mask is on, he still has a little bit of a nerdy side, but he's very much a trash talker and very good at that Spider-Man. So I think Tom Holland honestly hit that.
And I think that's where Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man Tobey Maguire's not much of a trash talker, period.
No.
I mean, his zingers didn't really zing. You know, I mean, I loved Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, but that was the worst part of the whole film was he just couldn't talk shit.
Yeah.
You know? And then that's where everybody was excited when Andrew Garfield took over and he could trash talk as Spider-Man. I would have to say he's the best trash talker of the movie.
He was perfect.
But like you said, outside of the costume, you don't buy it. You don't buy that he's just the geeky nerd in high school who's just a failure.
He came across too much like he was pretending to be a loser.
Exactly.
And that's not Spider-Man. Spider-Man,
and I think
Peter Parker is a loser, period. In his high school, he was a loser.
Yes. And I think where Tom Holland gets the mix of both is because he still seems like a kid, right? As old as he is in real life, you could actually picture him as a high school student with his vernacular and the way he talks to his friends and you know, he's clueless. He's clueless. And he could pull it off as an actor that he's fucking clueless and he's the loser.
The thing. There's actually a scene where Tom Holland, Robert Downey Jr., and Benedict Cumberbatch are sitting next to each other and they're talking, and all of a sudden, Tom Holland goes, you know, he's like, I had a project I had to do, and it was on Sherlock Holmes. Should I do it? Should I do it on the TV version or the movie version? Yeah, you can see where he did that on purpose, because right between the two of them.
That was that in a movie or was that in an interview?
That was in an interview.
Because it'd be funny if they could tie that in somehow.
Oh, that would have been amazing. But it was in an interview, and Tom Holland specifically did it because he knew they would both say that version because they both played Sherlock Holmes. So he's not as clueless as he pretends to be or can play at. He is actually incredibly intelligent, and he has the higher level of vernacular, but he can also play off like that idiot kid, like, wow, is that a metal arm? Can I have one?
Right.
Yeah. It's like, okay, that's Spider-Man.
Anyway.
But when he was in class and he's being awkward and his friend's like, hey, he knows Spider-Man. That whole scene of him being like, that was a beautifully awkward Peter Parker, which is exactly how Peter Parker would be in the comic book. He seems to be able to handle that duality that Peter Parker was originally supposed to represent. Not many actors can pull off the duality because you have to be able to be sarcastic and smart talking and trash talk the shit out of your opponents like Peter Parker or like Spider-Man, but also be very awkward and shy without the mask.
Right. So
okay. I think we have honestly blown Tom Holland enough now. So
we've exhausted Peter Parker as well, so let's just stop on that, please.
Yeah. So we've talked him up and destroyed him all in one thing.
Yes.
We're going to move on. Let's, who else we got? Let's talk about some of our more female spider characters. Silk. Love Silk. She was bitten by the same spider that Peter Parker was, but only introduced 20 years later.
Really?
Yeah, she was a newer Spider-Man character.
So did the spider just live that long and then bite her 20 years later?
No,
or
or
did she get bit at the same time and then she's like, I'm just going to hide it?
Well, no, in storyline, she came out rather quickly, storyline-wise, but as far as, like, our universe goes, it took them 20 years to go, hey, well, the spider never died. What if it went on to bite somebody else? Because literally, like, Peter Parker whacks it off, and that's the last you see of the little bugger, is it going away. Well, it didn't die. Spiders don't, it's not like a bee. Spiders don't die when they bite you.
What about the other spiders that were in that lab? Didn't they bite anybody?
They actually admitted those were all liquidated. They were all destroyed. So this one spider survived and got away, and then built this other girl. That's Silk.
Immediately to be destroyed, because we know that spiders must die if they bite you.
Well, no, what happened was the spider got away, and lawsuits, fear of lawsuits caused the fact that they couldn't contain the spider. Created the fear of lawsuits. So, bye, we're gonna liquidate. Yeah, your whole idea of how this works is, yeah. They went a little too our universe with that.
It's like, oh shit, so the spider got out a little bit, I see it bit you. Did anyone else get bit by the spider? Oh, I shouldn't be saying that out loud. How much hush money do you need to get away with this? I don't have that kind of cash on me right now, but fuck.
Hold on, let me sell off and destroy all these spiders. That should make enough money.
So now that we just liquidated all the spiders, Spence, do you have the money with you?
But yeah, Silk is honestly an amazing character. I love her two different costumes. One where it is just pure silk. She apparently got out of the shower and webbed herself and went off to fight crime. And the other suit, which is actually a red, black, and white suit, which I like actually more than the silk.
I have questions. Where exactly did that silk come from?
She actually does this, and it shoots out of her fingertips.
From the shower.
And just,
Uh-huh.
I got nothing. I'm not touching that subject. I'm just pointing out it does have one of those oscillating multiple setting shower heads.
I like where Shweebs went with that.
Yes.
Because, you said she got a whole suit out of the shower, and then you said is from her fingertips. Questions?
What I said was
many.
She was naked and clearly just stepped out of the shower and webbed herself and started running around in there.
Exactly. Therefore, I have questions. What was she doing, and how long did this take?
It depends. Women can do it multiple times.
It's true.
So that's how she has two suits.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, the second suit is an actual suit made of like cloth.
Either way, each suit looks sexy.
Yeah. Then there's also Spider-Gwen, which we have touched on in how her creation was. But personally, I think she was a better Spider-Man than Peter Parker.
Yes, she was. Oh my god.
And honestly, I did like the crossover where Peter Parker meets Spider-Gwen and they fall in love. Because honestly, both of them...
Did she break his neck?
In the original...
Did she break his
neck? She
neck?
caused his death.
Oh, really?
She caused Peter Parker's death in her time. She says she can't save him, but she couldn't save him technically. Like, he couldn't save her. They caused each other's death in their own timelines.
Mephisto was probably laughing in hell, just like, I ruined now 2 love interests in 2 universes.
And then this ultimate villain comes in, and all of a sudden he's like, God damn it. Because now 2 ones he ruined are together.
No, he's still happy because he got his ultimate prize. He has the dumbass's marriage.
That's true. That is very true. But the whole point is him and Spider-Gwen get together, and that is actually the perfect relationship because both of them have the fact that they killed off the other one, and that slightly broken personality is what makes the 2 fit better. because Peter Parker's always been broken, but his love interest never had that broken aspect. So now, because they are both broken, Gwen Stacy is now as flawed as he is. They now have a standpoint where they can actually grow together. Whereas before, you can't make Mary Jane grow together with Spider-Man or Peter Parker because she's not broken. She's fine. He's broken. He's flawed. He has to grow to the point that he's on par with her before they can grow together.
But
And
Gwen
the problem
will
is that
always
takes way
be better.
Wait, what?
But Gwen will always be better.
Agreed. But the whole point is, it's really hard to take a flawed character and with a flaw that you don't want to get rid of and help him grow into a relationship.
Someone hold my beer.
It can be done. It can be done. But honestly, with as many hands have touched the Spider-Man storyline, do you really think the conglomerate that created Spider-Man, what he is now, could possibly together, unanimously, create that relationship?
Someone
Except-
hold my beer.
I was gonna say, hold beer.
Yeah, well, no, that's you as a
I'm
single
just-
individual. I'm talking about the 30 plus people who've worked on Spider-Man. Do you think they could all come together to create a version of Spider-Man where he is flawed and yet perfect for someone who isn't flawed?
Aaron, can you hold my absolute?
No, I was about to actually come in here with a freaking wrecking ball.
He came in with a wrecking ball. Good.
First of all, I stepped away for a minute. None of you noticed. Came back.
Notice
Yeah, we
I
did.
waved.
No, I'm not talking about you.
I
The
noticed.
people out there, the people that can't see us.
Yeah,
Oh.
viewers, God, notice him.
Notice him, damn it!
Senpai.
Notice
Anyways,
him.
and I was thinking of some other, Spider-Man that I had forgotten, and the one that popped up was Scarlet Spider, right? Well, technically, he's not part of a separate. There are 4 Scarlet Spiders
Yeah,
in different universes.
yeah.
So I was like, God, I don't remember anything about Scarlet Spider, and I started looking him up. And then
Ben
he was
Reilly
Wrecking
was
Ball.
Scarlet Spider.
Ben Reilly was the first Scarlet Spider and a clone of Spider-Man.
But then they tried to make it seem he was the original, but then rewrote it so Peter Parker would feel like he's the original.
No, see, that's where it got screwed up. See, Ben Reilly, since he was the clone of Spider-Man, had all the memories of Peter Parker, which is where the conflict came from. They both thought that they were the original Spider-Man. And that was 2017's Dead No More, the Clone Conspiracy story arc,
Yeah,
where he's resurrected as the Scarlet Spider and reclaims his Scarlet Spider identity.
yeah.
reimagined
Because
as an
fans didn't
anti-hero.
like Ben Reilly, so they wrote him in to just now be the clones.
Right.
I think the point was they were
Ben
trying-
Reilly deserves better.
Maybe.
Well,
I
that's
think
the
big
that's the
thing
whole
was they were
reboot.
trying
But
to- I think they
trying
were
to
trying to keep that suspense of is he, isn't he, is he, isn't he?
Right.
Because both have the memories of the original. Whether
Right.
they are or are not, they both have the memories of the original. So there's a lot of conflicting because they both believe they're the original, but one of them isn't. So now, is Peter Parker the original and Ben Reilly is the clone? Or is it the other way around? And that created a lot of controversy for both characters. And I think that Marvel feeds off that.
oh, of course.
It's like cocaine for
Oh,
them.
of course.
But that's why I think they tried to reintroduce him in 2017 as an anti-hero instead of as, the Spider-Man or Scarlet. He's. I think they're trying to make a
Ben
Deadpool.
Reilly isn't Jason Todd, Marvel.
Yeah.
Isn't Jason Todd the Punisher?
No, Jason Todd is from DC. First of all.
Oh, wow. Okay, who's Jason Todd? Come
Jason Todd is Red Hood,
Robin.
the second
Red
on.
Robin.
Oh, look. You gotta understand, I am not as big a DC character, fan.
The only reason I remember this is because me and Aaron did a podcast way back in the day where I gave him a history
all the
lesson on the
Robins.
Robins.
Look, I am a Green Lantern fan. That is my DC, my secret, that's my dirty secret of DC.
Don't worry, Phoenix. No one will know.
Yeah, it is. And especially, here's the thing. The reason I like the Green Lantern, and we're going to deviate from the main topic for just a sec,
Just
is not because of the Green Lanterns, because honestly, I think they're all a bunch of pious fucks.
they are.
I like the Green Lantern, or the Lantern Corps universe, where they introduced all the different colors of the lantern. All the Skittles got brought into the box, not just the green ones. That was beautiful for me because I loved the Rage characters, the red. Loved that.
That's because you are Rage.
Shh. Nobody needs to know. And then I had Orange, which was Deceit.
That's why his name's Phoenix.
I thought
Yellow?
Orange was Avarice.
Was it Avarice? It was Greed. You are correct.
Yeah,
The
Rage,
you were-
Avarice, Fear.
Which works great if you're a lantern.
Willpower, hope,
Love.
Faith.
faith,
Faith.
life, death.
Those were added later because somebody actually completely altered one of the lanterns to create Death, which was the first group that was consisted of anybody who was killed and resurrected.
Which
means
gave us
even other
the
lanterns
Darkest
could
Night
come.
storyline.
Yes, and then the White Lantern was created in order to counteract Death.
See, this is how deep the Spider-Verse goes for all of you out there. It crosses over to DC. That's how deep this goes.
It really does.
Let's not forget,
Here's
there was a Batman Wolverine crossover called Dark Claw.
Yeah, from the Amalgamation comics.
Here's the thing, though, and this is where the two actually tie together. While the Spider-Verse was growing, the Green Lantern Corps was growing. So it was DC versus Marvel, once again, batting around similar ideas and running them parallel to each other, and watching as both were loved.
And
And
hated
at the same time. Thank you, Vinny. Thank you.
It's kind of like the whole debate between which one is better written. Jaime Reyes or everyone's favorite neighborhood web slinger. My vote was Jaime Reyes.
Of course it was, V. What's your take on Spider Noir?
Spider Noir, now that is someone I actually do enjoy as a character. Not very well written because it's like, I don't think people really knew how to make a noir storyline that well with him without sounding too cliche and not any nuance to it.
Well, it seemed my introduction to him kind of seemed he was different from most of the other Spider-Men in the fact that he was very
gray and very nuanced in the
well. Not only that, but he was also sneaky, quiet, as if he didn't have some of the powers that the other Spider-Men had. He had the webs, right, and he had the spider sense, so he was, quick on his feet, could dodge attacks and things like that. But it didn't seem like maybe he had the strength of the other Spider-Mans.
Here's my issue. I started reading the noir, and I got pulled so hard towards Batman.
Yeah, that's where the big
because
problem
that was
is.
the issue I had. It was like they were trying too hard to create that noir theme, but kept crossing over into the Batman area, and we're like, this isn't where we need to be.
It's
Let's
like they
take it
took
3 steps to the left.
It's like they took the residue from Frank Miller's own self-imposed jack-off material, scooped it up with a spoon, and then just threw it on the paper, just like, this is the Spider-Man noir.
So wait, is Spider-Man Noir, does he not have spider powers? Is he just basically Batman in Spider-Man universe?
His strength and speed come more from training than from the spider bite.
What I'm saying is
the webs
he's
come from ropes and hooks.
Right, so he doesn't have, he's a regular human.
He still has the spider sense.
He does have the spider sense.
So he does have to some degree, but he's more like Peter Parker if he only got bit and had a little bit of the strength transferred, a little bit of the agility, all of the spider sense, and didn't come with, like the first one with Tobey Maguire, the natural web shooters. So this is an old school. He didn't have the tech to create the webbing or the chemistry to create the webbing, so he created...
He made grappling hooks and things like that.
Yeah.
That was my takeaway from my introduction to him was he was the most different of all the Spider-Men. Like, all the other Spider-Men have... I mean, they each have a little bit of a different
flavor,
ability set or whatever. But, like, he had the most different, whereas he is basically the weakest in doing the most with what he has.
Like that. That.
So he's maybe not... Like, Peter Parker's supposed to be the genius, right? He's supposed to be. I didn't say they read him that way. God damn it.
Yeah,
Parker's
he's supposed to be, but 4th most intelligent human.
5th.
Right. Well, they ranked the smartest men, the smartest men in Marvel, right? And I think was it Reed Richards was number 1, Tony Stark was number 2, and Hank Pym was number 3.
Reed Richards actually got knocked down to the new Ultimate because of the fact that Iron Man, Tony Stark, was rewritten as a genetically created individual whose purpose was to become smarter.
And
come on.
Shuri actually outwits both Tony Stark and Reed Richards.
No, I'm talking about the list. Marvel made a list.
No, Shuri from the Marvel line from the Black Panther comics, you know, the sister of T'Challa, she's actually smarter than both Tony Stark, Reed Richards, and Hank Pym.
Is that from the...
From both
MCU
the comics and the movies.
Okay.
Comics and movies, where even Shuri was made the
though.
Black Panther at a time. She's actually
Here's the
that
thing,
super
though.
smart.
When they made the list, they went smartest men, smartest women. They never went smartest person. So that's why Shuri wasn't as high. She was number 1 on the women's list, period.
Anyways, I was getting to
That's
where
why
Spider-Man is actually on that list.
He's actually number 5.
Number 5, if we were going to be honest.
But
No, actually, on the list, he is number 5. So, because there was Reed Richards, there's Hank Pym, there's
Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
Tony T'Challa technically is one of the smartest men alive.
Well, we're not even talking. We forgot about Bruce Banner.
Bruce Banner is probably one of the smartest superheroes to also.
No,
have
hold on.
race.
He is the most ethically bound after his accident, whereas the others don't seem to give a shit what accidents they had. They're gonna find something better to defeat it next time.
And then cause so many world-shattering events where they're just like, oh man, we've ruined the world.
Whereas Bruce Banner's like, yeah, I'm that smart too. But that's even fucked up, guys.
Like how they started Civil War and then they were just like, we're gonna shoot Hulk into space, but we're gonna get into that later because we gotta go back to the main topic.
It could even be that Bruce Banner is the smartest, but he chooses not to be because he doesn't do the dumb shit that these smart guys do, right?
He doesn't go as far as they go to be. Well, here's the thing, though. Once Tony Stark created the Extremis suit, he was hands down undefeated in intelligence because the suit makes him smarter because the more intelligent he is, the more power he has for the suit. The more power he has for the suit, the higher his learning capacity. So watch the cycle grow. So Tony Stark can no longer be defeated as an intelligent being once he has the Extremis suit installed.
Yeah, but I thought there was a fatal flaw to the Extremis suit, which is why it was stopped being used.
There's a flaw to everything.
It's stored inside of his body, and it literally became a part of him. If you damage the Extremis suit, you are literally destroying cells of his body. So every time he gets hit and a piece flies off,
that's
essentially
part of his skin and flesh.
Imagine part of his actual body being ripped pieces off.
I'm sure that's not pleasant.
Well, he can reinstall new parts because, again, Extremis can be repaired. So
again, still doesn't sound very intelligent to me.
I mean, to be fair, we're talking about a man who not
megalomaniac.
Not only tried to forget about his brother that apparently exists, started a civil war because of some proclamation that was really to just be a middle finger to mutants everywhere, to then fight his best friend, sent his other close friend into outer space to then make sure that he and 4 other idiots got their asses kicked viciously on public television and then electrocuted.
He actually didn't send Bruce Banner into space.
Him, Namor, Black Bolt, and Reed Richards agreed in the Illuminati to send him into outer space.
Oh, you're talking comic book. I was in the MCU.
No, I meant comic.
Okay, because in the movie...
No, Hulk went by himself.
Space, but that was the Hulk.
Went by himself. I'm not denying the MCU. I mean, like, from the stupid list of Tony.
I want to point out, the Hulk was in that ship for a long time, and there was no damage to anything. I'm curious about that. Because Bruce Banner admits he was not in control for over 2 years, which means the Hulk sat in that ship and just...
Well, I mean, he had to get stronger the other way with his holograph of Scarlett Johansson.
And I also want to point out, not only was it not destroyed, it was clean. There was not a single white stain all over the inside of that ship.
That's because the Hulk doesn't shoot white.
And then Thor...
And it glows without the blue light, the black light. It glows without the black light. So it should have been visible to begin with. it wasn't.
And then Thor Ragnarok comes along, and all Hulk is doing is looking for Thor and just destroys the ship. Which makes you wonder, in 2 years, what did he do?
Well, not for 2 years, because honestly, he admits that it was only a couple of months that he was in the ship, and then he was on the planet because he went through that wormhole, and ended up whatever. My question is, how close to the Earth is the wormhole? Because it takes, in order to get to Mars, it takes almost a year. So how close is this wormhole that the Hulk, within 2 years of not being in control, managed to get to this wormhole really quickly? Where is it, and how close to the Earth is it that he just, and now is over here in this other place? It seemed like it was a little slapdash in the theory, just because nobody would question it. Like, why would you even stop to question it? I did.
If we were to use like very, very rushed logic, I would say it would be probably about 9.5 months space travel to reach the wormhole if you're trying to use logic. And then from the trajectory, if it were to be shot out, it would be at least to the Hulk, it would be a couple of months, but it would actually be a shot off for about close to a year, crash landing by the 11th month, him getting out, causing the whole Planet Hulk storyline where he then becomes the champion for a year and a month.
In which he kicks Beta Ray Bill's ass, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, if we're going to use rush logic from just random scientific stuff and mathematics, because you guys know I hate using math, to just use all the trajectory stuff to do all that.
But my whole point is, again, how close is that wormhole to Earth?
About out the moon.
Probably 9.5 months travel.
Around the moon.
Well, see, the moon would be like 3 months.
So it'd be like 6.5 months past the moon, which means past the Inhumans, to then go straight into the wormhole.
So it would be just short of Mars, but a little after the moon.
Yes.
Okay. Even still, how come nobody knows the wormhole's there?
Guardians of the Galaxy do.
If we were to use the prequel movie that you're proposing for Guardians Volume 3, that could explain things.
Yeah.
Well, if you go just by the Guardians of the Galaxy logic, you could technically go through the wormhole that they've opened up once they've opened it.
Oh yeah,
so
because that wormhole did open different venues, even having Stan Lee talk to 3 different Watchers.
Yes. So what if somebody was jumping at that moment to that point in space at the time that Hulk meets that wormhole going the other direction?
Okay, so what you're saying is somebody was heading towards our dimension, our universe, and happened to open the hole, and the Hulk hit it at the same time as it was going to close behind them. I'm going to say that's a little...
It's comic booky enough.
50 trillion to 1. But you know what? I've heard of weirder odds in the Marvel Universe.
It's not the most grounded thing, but it's at least...
It's explainable.
I want to point out that the Hulk just happened to be traveling in that straight line, and just happened to not completely crash into the ship that was coming out of it, because the actual holes that they show are just slightly larger than the ship traveling through it.
This is where we digress from reality into comic books.
And basically plot.
Wait, Beb, because math.
Yeah.
So there.
God, math!
But I'm just saying, if it's coming out in a straight line, and there's a hole right behind it, in order for the Hulk to travel through it...
stop making me do math!
Okay, so you have a hole like this.
Yeah.
And the spaceship is roughly the same. It's smaller than the hole because the spaceship has to fit through it.
Yeah, but not by much.
Spaceship is going straight, right?
Yeah.
Let's say this is the straight plane. Let's say this is the Hulk. Woo!
And we just explained anal sex.
Yes,
but we gotta get back to...
But here's my thought. What happens if even a part of the ship touches the edge of the wormhole?
Well, that's why they asked them to
like a
lightsaber.
My point is, like a lightsaber, that anything is shaved off because it's left on this part of the universe.
Guys, time. We got so off topic that we have to now get back into topic.
Which sucks.
Which means we have to go through Madam Web to go back into the Spider-Verse thing of talking about Spider-Woman.
Spider-Gwen. We were on Spider-Gwen. Welcome back, people.
Her and her luscious ass.
She does have a really nice suit. I also like that some of the Spider-Man started introducing hoods as part of their suit.
Yeah.
Not just having the standard silhouette of a human being. They actually had something that broke up that silhouette. Like Miles Morales had it in some of his versions. I'm just saying, the fact that they started using... And then they had certain ones where they had the webbing under the arm. Again, breaks up the human form.
Like with Spider-Man 2099.
What was the other one where he's actually got a cape at all times? It was where Peter Parker went to the future and got a new suit. It was one of those Spider-Verse storylines for the TV show, I think. But it wasn't 2099. It was a whole new...
it was with the animal people thing.
Yeah, where Green Goblin still is alive, but now he's not...
But he's an actual Green Goblin.
He's a Green Goblin.
And they're actually friends instead of enemies.
Well, that's because Green Goblin lives underground and is now a good guy. He's just a nice guy. Not a good guy, as in he helps heroes. No, he is just a nice guy.
And it was supposed to be after Peter found not Spider. It's after he finds Mary Jane at the end of the Spider-Man animated series. Another example where I didn't hate Peter Parker, surprisingly.
Well, actually, the reason he went to the future was because he was trying to get to...
No, they showed in like flashbacks from the first episode that he found her. But he was going out into outer space anyway for like this big reporter job.
That's stupid. The entire point of the show from the beginning was that she fell into this wormhole and he dove in after her, meets Madam Web, and is now going through to the future to try and get to where she is.
And then
which explains why he already found her.
And then he found her, but then he was sent off on an assignment to go into outer space, but he crash lands on this planet full of animal people and humans, where he's now a reporter that also has a new love interest. I mean, he's cheating on Mary Jane, which is not surprising due to how many women he slept with. Miss Marvel, Black Cat, several people that work for the Daily Bugle, Gwen, twice.
Let's point out. Let's
Silk. Technically, Jessica Jones in a dream. Mary
Dreams
Jane.
To be fair though, when it comes down to it, if Black Cat was hitting on you, you'd apologize to Amethyst for what happened. So back to the point, you'd have to apologize in the long run.
Yeah.
We all would. Even Hubs would have to apologize.
Yeah, like Aaron would have to be like, Jenny, I am so sorry. Like, she's like, for what? Then she would see Black Cat, and then he'd be the cameraman until it's just like, do you want to join?
Yeah, I don't think Jenny would be mad.
I think she'd take the first turn. I'm sorry. I don't know this woman. I'm making jokes.
She'll be out again eventually, I promise.
I haven't.
She'll be back.
And I will offend her just as much as I offend everybody else.
No, you won't.
Don't say that, because I'll keep trying until I do.
Oh God, then I won't say that.
Yeah, please don't, because he will.
It'll just escalate.
Yeah, because it'll end badly.
The inclusion of these outfits is indeed a nice development, because it does show individuality between all the Spider-Men, instead of just being like, we're all in spandex, look at our camel toes and our bulges.
Exactly.
That's Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Jenny. But that's my point. It's just a matter of, it shows that there's some individual creativity to the Spider-Men and women, and it shows that it's just not a cookie-cutter series.
Like,
I mean, some of them are.
Oh God, I forgot about Dr. Spider-Puss.
Yeah, we're not actually going to talk about that, because that whole arc irritated me to no end.
But he's so much more of a realistic asshole. It flushes out that he's still a douche.
Yeah, but it sounds like a James Bond movie.
Yeah,
Dr. Spider-Puss.
Spider-Puss.
Bond movie.
Otto Octavius, even outside of his body, is a douche, but it's kind of like, if we were to be realistic about how the development would be for him to be a dick, like how Joe Quesada and his co-writer in One More Day wanted to make Peter to be like this big mobile success with his money, this would be Peter.
To be fair, though, the one thing I did have to give for Doc Ock is he is not a hero.
No.
He is a villain.
Yeah.
He is a villain playing at being a hero, which means he's going to have all the villainous tendencies while still trying to do the right thing.
You mean like the Iron Patriot?
Yeah, there was that too. But the whole point is his thought process of, okay, in order for me to defeat my enemies and not have them continue to cause me problems later on, like I did for the original Spider-Man, for how many different comic books did Doc Ock just keep randomly showing up and causing trouble?
Over 500-600. Why?
Exactly. So he's like, okay, I saw what me and Peter Parker did, this dance we did forever. I don't feel like doing that, so I'm gonna rip the heart out of my next villain.
Kalima!
Yeah. I'm gonna Kalima the next villain, and the next one that comes up isn't gonna be as willing to fight me.
I'm surprised.
And I'm gonna
Shweebs didn't
keep doing
get it
that
with
until they stop showing up. And here's the thing, for a hero, that logic makes no sense. It is an absolute flawed concept. Even for an anti-hero, that is a flawed concept.
Unless you're
But-
Dutch.
Phoenix,
Villain?
you're talking to a writer that actually writes that his heroes kill their enemies.
Yeah, as soon as you kill all
Batman
the enemies,
is
there's none
unfair.
left, right?
My whole point is, in a real world, if we had superheroes, they'd kill the villains.
Like with the Watchmen.
The Watchmen.
Exactly. They'd
Except
actually
minus
kill-
the blue penis.
Yeah, that was a thing. Oh, speaking of weird crossovers from the Watchmen, this thought did occur. There's a theory that
Rorschach?
That's the one, Rorschach, actually went through and survived the movie, ended up dropping into an alternate universe where he is then tortured, experimented on, and becomes the character V.
From V for Vendetta?
Yes. That's why they
he
don't
went from
explain where he's
He went
from.
from one... please, someone remind me who wrote Watchmen and V for Vendetta. I'm drawing a blank.
You're going to have to actually look that up because I can't tell you. But the theory is, because there is supposed to be some connection, either producer and or director involved there, that Rorschach dropped out of the universe because of the attack. The big blue guy decided he didn't want to kill him, so instead moved into an alternate universe. And the reality is it ended up being the one where V for Vendetta is. And it does kind of tie up the introduction of that character and the style of personality that V is. It matches Rorschach very well. So I like
Alan Moore. Got it. Alan Moore was the writer for Watchmen. Probably the writer for V for Vendetta, so that would make for a good fan theory. But
whether it is or isn't, it was a thought. I remember reading it. I loved the idea. So I figured I'd bring it up.
I mean, it was a good point because it's still just as fucking weird as, let's see what happens if we put Dr. Octopus's soul and mind in the body of this completely random as hell event of Peter Parker dying, and his ghost is now haunting Otto Octavius forevermore until it's just like, okay, we have closure. I'll be you from now on. Okay, I'll be seeing you? Sure. I'm gonna put my claws back on my back now. They'll speak to me.
until Spider-Puss started killing people, and then Peter showed up again.
Alright, that's it! I'm tired of this shit, man! I've been dealing with things in hell for selling my marriage, and you still have me going through this? Hold up, bro. Hold up. You have no idea how many less villains there are in the world. You killed the Green Goblin! No, I didn't. I see his spine in your hands! No, you don't.
Why are you drinking from his skull?
No, I'm not.
And why do you have the little umbrella in it? That's weird.
It's to make this coconut fancy.
All right, guys, I really, really hate to do this.
But I think we've played out this topic.
No, I was gonna say I have to go.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I think
well-
we played out this topic for the night.
Well, guys, we're not saying a farewell, but we're just gonna say this is the end of part 1. Tune in later for part 2.
But V, we don't have ends.
What ending? Did I say we had an ending?
It is part
He
1, I
said we had a
suppose.
continuation.
That's true. And we can
That's
always
true.
hate on Spider-Man, Peter Parker more later.
Really?
I've
Now I feel like
already-
the bullied kid in
I've
high
already
school.
ran through my hatred of Peter. I've ran dry.
Wait.
You still have until the next episode to see all the new comics for Peter Parker.
Wait.
Trust
I
me,
don't.
you can rebuild more hate.
Wait.